Hi and welcome to another week of Stamping with Teresa. Welcome back to this cold weather in Melbourne. Last week I came from Hervey Bay. I did my live up in Hervey Bay. It was such a beautiful week, catching up with Mum and my sisters and friends, family, my nieces, nephews. Just a lovely week away. Just went too fast, as all holidays do. Yeah, so this week I've decided I didn't really have anything planned, and I thought, well, we'll go with a technique. So I'd like to show you and share the salt technique, the background in watercolouring, and I just love watercolouring in painting. So it's gives you a really nice way of doing a background that you can actually use the negatives of your die cuts, which is really lovely. A few weeks back I did a frame with dragonflies in it, and I kept the negatives so that I can use them down the track, which one we're going to use tonight. So I'm going to bring the camera down so I can share. Give me a thumbs up if you're on. I've got a couple of people up there. Hello Amanda. It's nice to see people coming on, and each week more and more people are coming on, so please share my Thursday nights with all your friends that do card making and scrapbooking, and they might love to come on and have a look and see what they can learn as well. So yeah, so tonight we're actually going to start this technique. So I'm going to bring the camera down so you can actually see what I'm working on, and then I'll bring it back up towards the end. Okay, let's get started. Let's get started, and I'm going to just have to tighten the little handle up on my, sorry about that. So I've got watercolour paper that I'm going to be using, and I get a lot of ends. I've got a lot the same size, and I wonder, well, what can I do with these end bits? And this works out really good to work with our negative. So our negative was a dragonfly, so I used the dragonfly on one of our live Facebooks a few weeks back, and I've kept the negative. And when I do my image, I try not to waste the card. I try to make it an image as a negative so that you can reuse it. Hi Katie, lovely to see you on. And Heather, thanks Heather for popping on. So yeah, I like to keep the negative. So whenever I cut out a negative, I like to cut out like a card size one so that I can actually use it again, so we can use it with this technique tonight. Now I have actually embossed with one of the embossing folders on there. It's very hard to see, but I'll just show the embossing folders. It's one of our new ones, and it's really pretty. It's just little flowers, a flower and little flowers around it and leaves. But it's one of the new type of embossing folders, and the new type of embossing folders are a lot thicker. And when you're running them through your Big Shot machine, you don't need your bottom plate. You just need your top plate. So you do it on no tabs and just pop your paper inside and just run it through with a plate on top. So next week I might do some just demonstrating with the Big Shot, because I've had a lot of feedback on the Big Shot, so on how to use the Big Shot and some of our equipment. So I might do that. So let's get started on our watercolouring. So I'm going to come in with some of our new ink pads, which are really lovely. You just flip them over and slide them now, so there's no pushing or pulling. And I like to use a big block and just add some colour onto the block. So I'm coming in with the colours. Call Me Clover, this one is, and Blueberry Bashful was the last one I just used. And so we're just going to come in with a bit of green on this as well. Okay, and then I'm going to come back in with the blue again. And they are different to use. You get so used to using your other ink pads that, you know, sort of try to push and you don't have to. But that's okay. They've got little feet on them too, which is really nice. They actually clip into one another, so like that. They stack up like that. And they also have the name that you can put on the front, and you can actually, it opens like a cosmetic case, so they just open up this way this time, and you can put a colour slip in here as well so you can actually see it. So it just opens up and then slides back. So when you get yours, new catalogue starts tomorrow. How exciting is that? Very exciting. So just use your water spritzer and spritz your water paper. Okay, so we're just going to do this, and we're just going to come down with it twice. So we're going to come down with it on this one and just hold it for a few minutes and just peel it off. And then we're going to come down with it on a second piece, because it will be just a little bit different in colour and that if you come down twice. Okay, now while they're wet, I'm just going to get that paper towel and wipe my block off so I don't get it everywhere. Okay, so while they're wet, you just get your salt from your kitchen cupboard and you just sprinkle your salt on. How many people have done this technique before? If you have, just leave me a comment. Hi Jenny Dix, I just looked up. Lovely to see you. So no, if you're asking me about the ink pads, you can put them in, but you just got to spin very gently because they're a bit thinner, so that they might pop out. But yeah, they do go in there, but you just need to, yeah, be careful if you've got the caddy. You need to just turn it slowly, not fast. Okay, so you can sort of see that I've got the salt on here. And you've got to put that aside to dry. So I actually did a little bit earlier, so I did exactly the same thing, but this time I've let them dry, and then you just get a tissue and you just wipe the salt off, and you get this really nice effect underneath it. It gives it a real flecky. I don't know if you can actually see it on the camera as much as I can see it on this end, but it gives it a really beautiful fleck effect. Okay, so I'm just going to pop my paper over here for a minute, turn it upside down. Okay, so we've got these two pieces here, so I'm just going to stick them on the back of my Dragonfly. So I'm just going to put some, you might need to trim them off just a fraction because they're just strips of scrap, so I never measure anything. So I'm just putting some, using up the last of my fast fuse as it finished today, and get my snail back out. Okay, and just bring a bit in there. Okay, so we're just going to, I might put the lighter one down on the bottom towards the tail. So just line it up. Oh, that'll be right. The phone's ringing now. That's all right. They can ring back later. And then just stick the next one on. So as you can see, it gives it a beautiful colour for the Dragonfly. So we've got some paper slips here, so we can just trim these off so that you can't see them. And just one on this side as well. Okay. So then I'm going to actually mat it on a black piece of cardstock. So just get my fast fuse again. And right down over that seam so it holds it, and just up the top there. So we're just going to mat that onto some basic black cardstock. Doesn't it give it a really different effect when you actually can use your negatives? So when you're cutting out your negatives, just try to be a little bit mindful that you can reuse them again. So, you know, they still make nice cards. And now we're going to stick this onto a crumb cake card. This one's just about finished, I think. But that's alright, we've been using it all day. And we're just going to stick that on there. Which gives it a really lovely effect. So it's a very simple way to make a card by doing the backgrounding. So you can actually add some pearls into the eyes, which looks really nice. And I've got, I'm going to colour them in the blue. So I'm going to use my Stampin blender pen, or if you've got Copic markers, you can use them. And I'm just going to colour some blue eyes here for our dragonfly. And just use my scissors to pop them out. Whoop, that really popped out. Oh, and this one just wants to pop all over the table. Come on, up you come. Okay, so we're just going to put some little eyes in where the eyes go. It's really funny, it's really sticky tonight. And because you're actually using the pearls, they just pop up a little bit and they really do blend in. So that's our little dragonfly card, and it's quite cute, and it's really... Hi Beth, how are you? I hear that up in Bensdale tonight and up Traralgon Sale Way you're going to get 1 degree, which is really, really cold. So yeah, after being up in Hervey Bay, I feel like it's 1 degree here in Warringah. So we're going to do another watercolour one now, another technique with our block, and this time we're going to bring 2 colours on, and we're going to do one in the top. I might get a bit bigger piece on this one. So I'm using the Marina Mist, so we're going to do that up this side. Yeah, we're just going to put the Marina Mist on. And then I'm going to use the crumb cake. I hope you've all been enjoying. I hope you all had a look at last week's that I did up in Queensland, the cards we made, and I hope you've been enjoying the live Facebook. Okay, so once again we do the same sort of thing. We actually spray a little bit of water onto it, but this time we're going to actually just pop it into the centre, and then we're just going to bring the block backwards and forwards and down. And you can work your block a little bit up if you wanted to. Okay, so I'm just going to wipe that again. This gives you like a beach theme, so you can use like the sky for the sky and sand, or you can use water and sand. Once again, you get your salt and you can sprinkle that on, and it'll give it a different type of effect. So you do need to put that aside to let dry. I have done some a little bit earlier for you. So when you're doing salt technique, you might want to do like a whole bunch of it at the same time, because it does make a bit of a mess, and then that way you can sort of come back to it. So this is what I did a little bit earlier, and you can sort of see the salt on it. I don't know if you can see it on the camera tonight, but I'm just going to rub the salt off with a tissue, or you can use paper towel, and it gives it a real flecky effect. So the longer you leave the salt on, and as it's wet, and if it doesn't seem to be working as well as you want it to, then just wet the paper again and start again, you know, add a bit more salt to it. Okay, so I'm going to actually stamp on this one, and I'm going to use the High Tide stamp set. This is one of my favourite ones. So the High Tide is a really good one to do a water type theme on it. So I'm going to come in with the grass. So I'm just going to stick the grass here on the block. And I think I'll do some crumb cake to start off with. And just stick some grass on here. It's a bit light, the crumb cake, but that's okay at the moment. I'll come in with a bit darker colour in a minute. So just to give it a bit of a shadow effect. And then we're going to come in with Call Me Clover. This is one of the new ones. It's really pretty, this colour. And then you just slide it in. A little bit different to our old ones. They do take a little bit of getting used to. And we're just doing it offset a little bit from where this is. So you can do it a couple of times, or you can just do it once. It's entirely up to you, just to get that effect. So you're sort of putting some little bits of grass in there, which is quite nice. Now I'm going to use the Memento Black. I've got to stop and think about these new pads. Memento Black, and we're going to use the birds because these is really cute on here. So we're just going to bring them up. Now it doesn't matter if you go over the grass because it'll either look like it's in front of the bird or behind the bird, so it's fine. And you can sort of just bring in a few more down this end if you want to. Okay, I might even do one. Might even do some just up the top end here. Okay, just to give it a bit of a different effect tonight. Okay, so once you've got your birds down and you're happy with the birds where you want them, you can actually then, you can add some little pearls or gems in along here that look like pearls. You just add them in along. I'm not going to add the big ones though because they're just a bit big. I'm going to colour in some blue ones. It's just a little bit softer than the red. So either go with 5 or 7, don't go with 3. You can go with 3, 5 or 7, don't go with 2 or 4. It's always better to have that odd number when you're doing the little pearls. It's a lot, I don't know, it's more eye pleasing. Okay, come here, a little pearl. And you can just pop some little pearls on around. It just makes it more beachy. They look like rocks actually, don't they? But it just is nice. And you can feel the salt on the card. It's quite nice to actually feel the salt on the card. It's a really lovely technique and I hope you all give it a go. If you do it and have a go, you're always welcome to put a card up on my site and share it. Yeah, and say this is what I did and this is what I learnt. A lot of people message me or email me, but you can actually, you can share it on the site. So you can sort of see it's quite a nice way of doing a card here too. So I'm just going to get show you the card that I did with the block earlier, and this is just on plain card, but these are our new in colour markers that I did it with on a block, and you get a watery different type of effect. They give it a very different effect. So when you use your markers you get a very different effect here than what you get when you're doing the watercolouring on your watercolour paper. So this is the watercolour paper and this is just normal very vanilla cardstock. So I'm just going to show you the very vanilla cardstock one that I did with the just while that dries a little bit because that's still a little bit wet. So we did this one with our block and we just did it on each colour. So I'm just going to start off with these are the new ones. So this is the Lovely lipstick. Don't forget to make sure that you store your markers or your Stampin' writers this way, horizontal, so that they stay wet both ends. Okay, so you can sort of see how you get that completely different effect because it's not a solid stamp. You're sort of drawing it, so you'll get lines. So yeah, a little bit different effect. But what you need to do is very lightly spray your paper because it buckles a little bit, this paper. So just come down with your block, and you can sort of see you do get that very different effect than what you get when you're doing it on the watercolour paper. It doesn't get quite as wet as the watercolour paper either. It doesn't absorb the water like the watercolour paper, so or sit on top. It sort of sinks in. So we're just going to do blue. This is the new blue. I can't remember all their names. This is the Blueberry Blush, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And we're just going to come down with this one, and as you can see, as you colour it, that's the sort of effect you're going to get on your block virtually. Yeah, so you can sort of just wet it a little bit more if you want to come down with it a second time. You just add a little bit more, and then just wipe that off, and then you can come down with your other colours like I did, your green, your yellow and your green. So you can sort of see it does give it a very different effect every time you do it, and it's very pretty. It is a pretty background one, so you could actually mat something up, or you could use another negative over the top of this, which would look quite pretty too. Okay, so that's just sharing that tip idea with you. We'll go back to our little card now. Now we've got our crumb cake base, so I'm just going to come in with our Timeless Texture stamp set. This is one that I really, hello Amanda, one of my favourite little background stamp sets, and it's got all different length ones which you can use. This one I love because you can use as water. You can use this one as fishnet. I'm going to use this one on the background, so I'm just going to pop this on our block, and I'm just going to come in with the crumb cake. So it's crumb cake on crumb cake card. Okay, so we're just going to come in, and we're just going to do it randomly around the card, just to give it a random effect. We don't want to really give it a whole lot of anything textured. You just want to just go random with it. So we're just going to come in with the next one. I'm just going to, okay, so the next one we're going to come in with is it's just got little dots on it, and it's quite cute too. You could use a different sort of, and this is just giving it a bit of a background into our card that we're going to place on there in a minute, the watercolour one. Doesn't time go so fast when you're sharing something? Half an hour goes very fast. So you can sort of see it's going to be a bit of a background for this. So I'm just going to come in with one more because there's a couple of really lovely ones in this set that I just want to share with you. And this is like a, to me, it reminds me of coffee stain cups, which is really, really good too. Just going to take that stamp off there for a minute. We're just going to come in with this and just come down. And you can sort of see it gives it that real, like, coffee stain effect, like you put your cup down, which I really think it's quite a nice effect, especially if you want it to be rustic looking, which we do. I want that left open for a minute because I want to actually just go around the outside of my water card with some sponging. So I just want to come in with the sponge. And you can really feel the salt on the card. It feels really lovely, and it looks like in the light that it's dazzling. It's very hard to see when you're doing it on the camera. Hi Narelle. Lovely to see everyone come on tonight. Thank you so much for coming on. Makes it worthwhile coming in and doing this every week. I just love to share, and I know not everyone can get to my classes, so this is a really nice way. You can always go back and look at the video again. It always stays on my site. I also move it over to my YouTube site and also to my blog. So yeah, you've got 3 options to see it. So we're just going to snail this down. I don't think we're going to get time to do the 3rd card tonight. The time just goes really fast. So we just bring this in onto our card. So you can sort of see you get this really rustic texture at the back. And you can actually bring in a beautiful word up here as well, which is really something lovely. So this was the last card we did. This is the first card we did, using the negative. Now I'm just going to bring the camera up. So, pulled it out of the socket tonight. Okay, just give me 1 minute. I tightened it up too tight. A bit crooked. Okay, so lovely to see everyone. I'm so glad that you all came on, and like I was saying, this is just using the negative. It's really beautiful to use the negative. Now next week I think I'll start sharing some big shot techniques with embossing folders and different other things. So I've figured out I can probably use the big shot here. So yeah, I love rustic looking cards, and they are both very rustic looking cards. Now we are having our monthly card swap, so if you're interested in participating in June, I'm actually doing it now. I'm actually getting people to sign up now. We've got about, I think, 14 people so far that have signed up to join in on our card swaps. And okay, I'll tell you quickly about that. So you make, say you make the same card. So you're making this card, you make it maybe 5, 7 or 10 times, depending on how many people we get in the groups. I divide the groups up, and we have a Facebook page just for people for the swaps. It's just for people that are doing the swaps, and on there will be your groups and the names of the people that you actually have to send your cards to. So you send out maybe 7 cards like this to 7 different people, and you will receive 7 cards back from 7 different people. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We've been doing it a few months now, and people have been participating. There's only one rule, that it has to be Stampin' Up stamps, and they have to be current. So that's the only rule that we have. It doesn't matter how you make your card or anything like that. Just remember, you've got to post it though, so don't do too big a bulk, or otherwise it will cost you a fortune to send out 7 cards or 10 cards, depending on how many people. But we are, it is a fun thing to do, and it is fun to get them in the mail. We're trying to bring back the snail mail, which we don't get a lot of, and you don't get a lot of mail. So, and you've got a month to do it. So I put the names up on our Facebook page tomorrow, which is the 1st, yes. And then you've got the whole month to make your cards, and you just need to send them to your people before the end of the month. Not before, just the end of the month. You have 2 weeks or 3 weeks to make them. Yeah, and people are really enjoying them and really having a lot of fun doing this. And we have people from all over the place doing the swap. So it's not just from Warragul, it's from people from Sale. I've got people from can't think of all the names of where they all come from now, but yeah, there's people from all over the place doing the swap. So if you're interested, just get your name down, put it in the comment tonight that you'd love to join the swaps, and yes, I'll join you to the swap thing where there's got rules and regulations in there that you can read through, and I can add you to the group. But after tonight, tomorrow it will be closed off, so you've got tonight to put your name down. But then you can always join next month if you don't want to join this month, that's fine. Then what I do is I actually take a photo of everyone's swaps and pop them on to the page, and then everyone just puts down their comments that they made the card. which has been a lot of fun. So if you're interested in something like that, and to also start stacking up your cards for throughout the year, yeah, this is a good way to do it. Well, thank you for joining in tonight, and I hope you're all bearing this cold weather. I've actually got the heater going pretty flat out tonight because it's so cold. When you open that door, it feels like the ice is just ready to melt me, but I feel like I need to be back in Queensland where it's warm. So I've got the heater on a little bit higher tonight so I don't feel so cold. Thank you for stopping by tonight. Love you all, and we'll see you again next Thursday night with some tips and ideas on the big shot, which I think you'll find really interesting. Okay then, catch you then. Bye for now.